NFL coach of the Jets and Browns. We have him at Fox Sports, and we love him. Eric Mangini. It is a Thursday stopping by today. So, J-Mac's all fired up. He goes, ask him, how's Zach Wilson going to do against the Cowboy defense? And I'm like, I'm not sure anybody's going to be great against the Cowboy defense. If you had Zach, now they do have the makings of a really interesting run game because Breece Hall's dynamite and Dalvin Cook's out of his prime maybe, but he's good. What would you do? I mean, what would be the message to the team? Aaron's gone. What's your message to this locker room so you don't lose it?
Well, I would imagine Robert Saleh's message at halftime is a message that he's had this week, and that was, we've got a really good team. And although we lost Aaron Rodgers, the season doesn't end. We've got outstanding defense. We've got good running backs. We've got talented players across the board. This thing's not over. And I thought they did an unbelievable job of getting the guys refocused coming out of halftime and figuring out a way to win the game. And them doing that should be enough. It should be enough proof to the rest of the team of what is possible. And for Zach, everybody loves the second act. This is his opportunity to have his second act. He's had an offseason with a veteran quarterback in a system that he's had a chance to sit back and learn and see the nuances of. He should be well positioned to demonstrate that he can lead the team. Maybe he's not going to win a bunch of games, but he's got to make sure that he's not the reason that they're losing a bunch of games like he has in the past.
Okay, 40-year-old quarterbacks take out Brady. Drew Brees couldn't stay healthy. Warren Moon no longer moved like he did formerly. It's just the reality of it. Off a tough Achilles surgery. Aaron turns 40 here in a few months. What do you think he's going to look like post-surgery if the rehab goes, well?
I don't know how he comes back. I don't know. I know what he said, and I'm sure that's what he feels right now. And nobody wants their last game and their legacy to end the way that it could potentially end here for Aaron Rodgers. But he was considering retiring the previous season. He had to be talked back into coming back to play. And I get the new environment and all those things. But this is a significant amount of rehab. This is a long process. He's 40 years old. He's got the rest of his life to think about. And I don't know if at the end of the day it's going to be worth it for him to come back and try to prove something when really, when you look at the course of his career, he's got nothing that he needs to truly prove.
Yeah, Super Bowl, 4 MVPs, above 500 playoff record, a ring, and a lot of money. So I talked to somebody a couple days ago, and somebody that sits and watches 22 film and somebody that's been in this league. And they said, Colin, I know you defend Russell Wilson. Don't love what I see. Missing stuff. Greg Cosell was on an hour ago, and he just said, missing stuff. There's stuff there. He's not seeing it. Here's the thing. Eric, starting next year, that cap hit is 35, 53, 55, 58. That's hard to get out of. You have to hit on every draft pick. I don't know. I don't know. I look at that thing. People are terrified for what the Jets face. Zach Wilson's cheap. We can move on next year. Great defense. Great, Denver's very dependent on Russell and Peyton's brain. Do you look at that and think to yourself, oh, this thing could go sideways fast?
Yeah, they weren't able to upgrade the team very much in the offseason. They essentially have the core that they had the previous season, and it's got to work with Russell. It's got to work at least in the short term, and it may not be the Russell Wilson that we know in Seattle. It just has got to be better than what we saw last year. And I thought there was some improvement in this first showing. And with Sean, he's going to get Russell's greatest hits. He's going to give him the things that he does well. And in time, hopefully Russell will be able to take the best things from Sean's system and be very productive in it. This isn't, as much as we talked about the coaching last season, this isn't a team that's been markedly improved. So the only way that they're going to get better is if the guys that they have there are able to make some significant jumps. And there should be some jumps here in the system for Russell, I'd say in the next 3 or 4 weeks as he gets used to being in Peyton's system, Sean Payton's system.
Yeah. So You know, I know you have some defensive background here. You're not going to like this. But 10 of the 11 highest-rated O-lines after week one are offensive head coaches. The top 6 are offensive head coaches. Most at the bottom are defense. Tomlin and McDermott, 6 years, can't figure the O-line out. Andy Reid did it in an off-season. And I watched Jordan Love. He looks so comfortable. And I watched Justin Fields in 26 starts, and he looks frenetic. One's got the offensive coach who keeps building the offense, and the other has the defensive guy. And I'm not picking on you guys, but this weekend, when I'm watching how comfortable Jordan Love is and Brock Purdy is, and how Josh Allen's running for his life and Justin Fields, there is something about offensive line play. Jordan Love looks so comfortable. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, let's be honest, it's a different language on offense, and the offensive coach sometimes speaks it, right?
Well, in my first season at the New York Jets, we drafted DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold, who are both now in the New York Jets Hall of Fame or Ring of Fame. And then we drafted Alex Mack in Cleveland, and he turned out to be a pretty good player. Look, is it a different language? There is a different language to it. But as a defensive coach, you get to see what works. You get to see the skill set that really gives you a problem defensively, and you should be able to translate that into evaluation of draft picks. And I would say Bill Belichick's had some outstanding offensive lines and offensive linemen over the course of his time, and has drafted some really good ones as well. And he's about as defensive-minded as you can get. So I know that's the narrative, and each coach tends to have a strength and weakness within the draft, but I don't think it's impossible for defensive coaches to figure it out. By the way, I watched New England. I actually thought they outplayed Philadelphia in the second half. I thought Jalen Hurts struggled, and I'll tell you, my guy over here doesn't like McEnroe Jones. I think Mac Jones is, for what he can do, is a very effective NFL player. I don't love him, but when you give him a little run game, I thought in the second half of the game, end of the first half, start of the second, he was fine. He doesn't have a number one receiver. They don't have a lot of juice. What did you take away from that game? Colin, this is an offensive line that had to start 2 rookie guards, a 4th round and a 5th round draft pick. None of those guys had played against or with each other, against the team that had the most sacks the previous season, and outside of getting down 16-0, and look, the pick six, it was a high throw, but the ball fell perfectly into the DB's hands. After that point, New England outscored them 20-9. They outscored them 20-9, and I thought Mac Jones did a really good job putting them in a position where they had a chance to come back and win that game. The 2-point conversion that he runs in, it gets called back for holding, but now it's only a field goal. And then he throws the out. The rookie receiver can't drag his back foot in. But if that hits, it's 1st and goal from the 9 with 29 seconds left. You got to give New England a lot of credit. Now, they didn't have a running game either. They only averaged 3.5 yards a carry. That's going to get better, too. I've been as critical of Mac Jones as anybody because of his arrogance, but I thought he showed a ton of progress and some real poise when it counted, and they outplayed the Eagles for a significant amount of that game after getting in a deep hole. Yeah, by the way, I'm glad you put that up. Mac Jones got that 2-point conversion called back. I know, because I had the Patriots +4, and it burned me, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I thought they were going to win the game. I was going crazy. I did too. Yep. Okay, so the Giants get beat 40-0, and my theory has always been, if you get humiliated on national TV, and I think you have a good coach and a capable quarterback, you're going to play with your hair on fire the next week. I just like you. So the Giants now go on the road with Arizona. They're going to empty the bag. I mean, you can't go 0-2 in this league. I think the Giants, you tell me, did you ever have a game? Nothing worked. I mean, the game plan, nothing worked. And then if you did, explain that. And how did you play the next week? Well, when we opened up with Buffalo after we had let go of Lawyer Malloy, and Drew Bledsoe was in Buffalo as well, and they beat us 30-0. and at that point, the narrative was that we were done. The players were angry at Bill. I mean, it was a big deal, and we went on and won the Super Bowl. It was just one of those games where Similar to the Giants situation, once the ball started rolling downhill, we couldn't stop the momentum, and everything that we did was wrong, and everything that they did was right. And when you watch that Giants game, it didn't matter where the ball fell. It was always falling where the Cowboys were.
Right.
It didn't matter what break there was. It was always breaking to the Cowboys. And sometimes you have weeks like that. Now, the nice thing is this isn't college football where people are going to rate how you lost or how you won. All the losses count exactly the same. They need to go to Arizona and play significantly better. And they should. If they do lose this game, then it's not just about being 0-2, it's who you're 0-2 against, which is really problematic.
Finally, I thought the most shocking performance, a Rams team that literally every draft pick is on the roster. So it's either the greatest draft, they had like 12, 13, 14 draft picks. They all made the roster. So it's either the greatest draft of all time or they're talent deficient on defense, and they completely shut Seattle down with a makeshift offensive line where a left tackle played right guard, a rookie left center, the backup center started. Run game. Stafford had protection. I watched that game. If you'd have told me just pick one team that's going to win Sunday, I'd have said, Rams are in big trouble. I couldn't believe what I saw. I mean, your takeaway on the youngest defense in the league shutting down Seattle.
Yeah, Colin, I was like you. I was shocked. And I know the philosophy of that organization has been we don't care about draft picks. But maybe they should. They actually do a really good job when they draft players. They've done an excellent job. Like, go collect a bunch of draft picks. And this is it can be a really fun time to coach when you've got a bunch of young players, when you've got a bunch of hungry players, when you've got a bunch of guys that are everybody looks at you and immediately assumes a victory. Those can be some of the most fun coaching experiences because the guys all buy in. They're all trying to do it exactly the way you're asking them to. There's not a lot of bad habits that you have to break from other organizations. And you can be in a position to surprise a ton of people because it's also an element of being young and dumb. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You're not intimidated by things because you don't know you're supposed to be intimidated by things. You don't have all that baggage that some of the other teams have. And there's zero expectations for this team, so they can go play loose. And I was as surprised as you were that game turned out the way it did. I never, ever saw it going that way.
Yeah, Stafford looked totally comfortable. They had a rookie receiver who had like 10 catches. Tutu Atwell, everybody thought he was a bust. He had 120 yards. I just sat there and I was like, oh, but you know what? Again, give McVay 3 weeks to dream up an offensive game plan. They took some New England coaches. They shifted their run style. It was a really impressive performance. Eric Mangini, Fox Sports. As always, Coach, great seeing you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.